Hello and welcome. My name is Christine. I am a second generation homeschooling mama of 3 to sum it all up. And I live in New Zealand in a little coastal town where it is currently very cold because it's winter time. Not very cold in comparison, but it's cold for us coasties. So today I'm going to be chatting to you about how I plan to be flexible. Because this is something that I've been asked a few times and something that I've just seen mentioned. I'm a planner. I love my homeschool planner and I use it religiously every single day for not just homeschool but for life in general. And so I just want to chat a little bit to you about how I do that and kind of the method behind the madness, So if that's something that interests you, please keep watching. Okie dokie. So it is the afternoon and one of my kids is napping. 2 of them are playing. I think one of them's napping. I just heard a knock on her door. 2 of them are playing in the living room and I just finished filming another long and very chatty video. So my voice is tired. But this is a subject that I'm excited to talk to you about. I've had a couple people recently reach out to me and be like, hey, how do you do this? I want to plan. I don't know how to plan because how do you plan when everything changes all the time? And that's often something that I hear said or see written or whatever, where people are like, oh no, I couldn't use a planner because you have to be flexible and kids aren't rigid and they don't fit into a schedule and everything and homeschool plans change. And I kind of understand the concept of that, but I don't agree that that's not a reason to plan. Now, planning isn't for everyone. I totally get that, and that's completely fine. If you are somebody who can fly by the seat of your pants, is more than happy to be spontaneous and go with the flow and change, and maybe you're more of an unschooler, and so that's just your thing, that's fine. You do you. It's all good. But people like me love to plan. I get such a kick out of planning my homeschool year. And I remember my mother being exactly the same. I remember her setting herself up at her desk and being like, do not disturb me all day, basically. And we kids would be banished to the outside to go and play. And she would be holed up at her desk with books everywhere and her planner and planning all the things. And she loved it. She absolutely loved it. And I'm the same. It is just how my brain works. I really enjoy the planning process. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about how I plan to be flexible because it is right. Life happens, things change, and even your best laid plans don't always eventuate or happen or whatever. And so I think that a lot of people are put off of planning and using a planner because they feel like if they don't live up to those plans, they're a failure in some way. And that's just not true. But I can understand why you might get those feelings. And so I want to talk to you about how I use my planner and how I use it to track things and just sort of keep myself accountable, but also give room for flexibility. So if you are new to my channel, you might not know, I use the planner from Vance Paper Co. I've used this. This is my second or third. I can't remember if my second or third year using it. Anyway. I've used it. No, I think it's only my second year using it. I love it. I really, really, really love the products that she offers. This is the classic. I don't think it's classic planner setup. She also has a simple planner and a minimal planner and then a whole bunch of other products as well. So mine is the most customized version. I don't know if I'm going to do that next year. I don't think I needed to do that particularly, so we'll see what I end up doing. I don't think I can quite go down to the simple or the minimal, but I think I can go for just the basic classic planner, but you can completely personalize it. So the way I have mine set up is I have all my calendar layouts and tracking sheets and everything in here, and then I have my weekly lesson plans bound separately. And so it's just this is a thing that I use every single day. It is a thing that gets dragged from one area of the house to the other. And it's just a really nice lightweight size. And it's very basic. It's basically just a notebook. So I think that her planners are perfect for people who really love the idea of bullet journaling, but don't have the time or necessarily the patience to do it because it's just very customizable. You can make it exactly how you want to use it. And so I have done planning videos before. I will go ahead and link the last one that I did up here, so because that's kind of what I'm still using. It's the same layout. And I'm just going to talk you through how I typically plan our homeschool. And I have referred to this in a previous video, but I'm going to go over it a little bit again and then just talk a little bit to the whole like flexibility concept. So at the beginning of the homeschool year, I go over everything that I've got and how I want to implement it. And so I think planning, because people are like, oh my goodness, you plan for a year at a time. How do you stick to that? It's not meant to be stuck to. That's not the reason that I plan for a year at a time. The reason that I plan for a year at a time is because it gives me an idea of what the year might look like. It gives me a heads up as to what field trips we could go on, what supplies I'm going to need, and just when things might fit in according to our seasons. For instance, if we're doing like nature study or an outdoor project or whatever, I know where I'm going to need to fit those into my year, instead of just like leaving it all up in the air and being like, oh, well, we'll just be flexible and go with the flow. That's fine for some people. That doesn't work for me. The other reason I like to plan is for accountability for myself. I am someone, if it's not written down, I seriously tend to lack motivation to do it. And I am also heavily motivated by a to-do list. It is my way of feeling like I have accomplished something. I am the person that people joke about who will like complete a task, go write it on their to-do list, and then check it off after they've already completed it, because it just gives me some kind of thrill. And I don't know how to explain it. It's just who I am. And so a lot of the reason that I plan on like a big scale is because it gives me that accountability. It gives me a heads up. Like for science experiments and art projects, if I don't know that it's coming up, and if I don't know the materials that I need, it's not going to happen. Like, it's just not, I'm not dragging 3 young kids out to town, spur of the moment, to go find like poster paint. Like, I'm not going to do that. That is just not a fun experience for me. And so I like to be organized and planned, and so that we actually get the things done, because they wouldn't get done otherwise. And I know that about myself. And that is why I do it. So the way that I plan is I plan on a large scale. I try and plan the whole year at a time. And typically language arts and math aren't really things that I have to plan out, because they're open and go. The lesson plans are already done for you. But more of our group studies, like history and science and stuff like that, those are the things that I tend to like look at and see what we need and what materials we're going to need and supplies and that kind of thing. And I go ahead and make sure that I've got that all planned out, and I make a list of the supplies we need so I can purchase it all at the beginning of the year. I have it set in the box, and so when it's time to do those lessons, I've got everything I need and I don't need to worry about scrounging for things. So I do it on a large scale. Then I break it down into terms, and I like to follow a 6-week term that is just, I've made up our own basically. That's what we do in our home. We do 6-week terms with a 1-week break in between them, except I think that this year we're going to extend our last term a little bit. We'll probably be finished all our group subjects by that stage, but I think we're going to be continuing with math and language arts a little bit closer to Christmas. Because I just felt like our break was a bit too long last year, and so I might bring it in a little bit on either side of our break, and then, yeah, we'll see. That's kind of where I am, a little bit more go with the flow and casual. But that is what I typically run on. And so then I like to plan for a term at a time. And last year I planned out like the whole thing. This year I've pretty much just planned out one term at a time, because every term it changes. It changes because we have public holidays, so we might have long weekends. My husband's home. We never get school done when my husband is home, pretty much. The year before that, it was lockdown, so we had plenty of time to do school, but it was still hard because our routine was all different, because, again, my husband was home. And then sickness happens, and unfortunately this time of year for us it's very common. Like, we've been sick several times, and that's been frustrating. And as long as my kids aren't too miserable, I try and keep up with some. Like, if they aren't feeling great, I'll have them lie on the couch while I'm doing read alouds with the other kids and stuff. So we're still getting some things done, but obviously there are going to be some days where it's just not feasible for us to do school, or maybe I'm unwell and I just can't teach. And so those are the kind of things that disrupt our routine, or we might change our routine completely, which I've done like twice this year, and I'm going to be talking about in an upcoming video, our term 3 update. I've completely changed our schedule again, and spoiler alert, I'm really loving it. So that can happen. And so I tend to change our lesson plans around a bit. And so I just plan for a term at a time, and I just kind of go with the flow like that. Sometimes I'll kind of like do a draft of the next term. Like I'll plan for the term we're going into, have a draft for the next term, and so it's easier to just go in and tweak things. And I just do that on Google Docs. So I do like to use the computer for that kind of thing. I just set up a table in there and then just like write out our lesson plans. I've been asked several times to like show how I do that and share. It's really hard because it's a very unique process. It's like our lesson plans and routines are going to be completely different to yours. And so I don't know how to relate it because it's just so ours, it's just our unique family plan. So there's that. And then we have a 4-day school week, and I really love having that because that has given us flexibility for those like long weekends, or if someone gets sick or something comes up, or like a fun opportunity might come up, like there might be a science fair in town. And so one of the days where we might typically be sitting down and doing schoolwork, we're going to go to the science fair instead. And then instead of getting behind, we can just move our other lessons to Friday. And that has been really, really great for us. And so that is how I plan. And then every week I go out and that's when I use my planner, and I have, I print out my 6 weeks at a time. This is our term. I've got it on my paper here, and I just print that out every term. And then every week I take that from the back pocket of my journal, my planner, and then I go in and I plan out a week. And like I said, I've done videos on this before. You can kind of see this is what a lesson, like these are my my goodness, I'm reading a word on the back and like my brain was just like, say that word instead of the one you mean. These are my homeschool lesson plans, which were almost finished for the week. And so I have mine split up into a group, and then for each child and each day of the week down the side. So the lovely thing about Anna's planners is that you can pick a specific layout that you want to use for your weekly lesson plans. So it's a 2-page spread, and I have mine. So I put my days of the week down this side, and I put other headings for this side. Brain is tired, guys. And so that's how I use mine. So my categories are days of the week, and then I've got each of the kids and our group subjects. And then on the other side, I've got work. So that's where I put all my work stuff that I have to do, home, and then meals, and then I have a to-do list and a little calendar down the corner. And this works very well for me. This is when it's like kind of like bullet journaling, where you can set it up to really work for you and your family, and I love that. Some people just use their homeschool planners just for homeschool. I use it for everything. I don't want to have a bunch of different notebooks and planners everywhere. And it's just blank. It's just plain when you get it. There's nothing really in there except for some shading and lines and everything. And then I make stickers with my Cricut. Personalized stickers, and I use washi tape and like highlighters and stuff to make it pretty. So yeah, I like to change it up every month. I typically use a different color scheme and make new stickers, and that's my little like creative thing that I really enjoy doing. So that's how I do it. I start with the big picture, and then I go down to term, and then I go week by week, and that is how I plan our homeschool year. And that is how I also keep it flexible, because I just could never be somebody who's like, okay, this is what we're doing for the year, and we're going to stick to this, and we will do work on Saturday and Sunday to make sure that we stick with this. Like, that is never who I'm going to be. And I'm also not so rigid that I can't see the learning activities and opportunities outside of our workbooks. Like, there's just so much. For instance, we do very little school on a Tuesday, like actual book work, because that is our day when we meet up with our homeschool group. And when I say we meet up with our homeschool group, it's not to do anything educational. It is just for the kids to meet up and play. We call it PE because we go to the skate park a lot of the time, and us mums just sit there and chat, and the kids play on the skate park and the playground, and we sit there for usually at least a couple hours. And so that's like a day for them to just get out and have fun with friends, and we homeschool mums get to catch up and encourage each other and just get out of the house. And so that's how that works. So I hope this makes sense to you. I don't know how to explain it aside from that. I also think it's really important not to get too like stuck in the idea of like I must finish a workbook. I must start a workbook at the beginning of the year and end it at the end of the year. Like you don't necessarily have to do that. Like you just follow where your child is at. And then I also have, actually I need to show it in here. I use these tracking pages to keep track of, so this is like a blank one, but you can get these at the back. And I use these trackers to keep track of my kids' subjects. So I'll write like math, and I'll write how many lessons are in the math book. And as he completes them every week, I will highlight the ones that he's done. And so then it's just like a quick glance to see like where we are in the year. Like, do we need to maybe hunker down and add a couple more lessons in a week? Or, you know, like decide to do some through the summer or whatever. You can kind of keep a really good eye on it like that. So I do plan, but I am more of like a record keeper, if that makes sense, because our plans change all of the time and life happens and it's just busy and it's never going to slow down. I remember my mom always being like, next year we'll have a quiet year and it'll just be quiet. And I can tell you right now, that has never happened. Not once. Not a single year has it been quiet and normal and settled. And okay, I need to stop talking now because that's like the second time my camera has cut me off today. So I'm obviously feeling very chatty. But I just will say that if you do have any questions for me, please go ahead and leave them in the comments down below. This, just like anything in homeschooling, is something that you learn over time, that you can get better at, and you just understand how your family functions and how to cater for that. Don't take how I plan and feel like you have to live by that. It's just there to be helpful and to give you sort of tips and maybe permission to change things up and be flexible. I would not say that I'm somebody who likes spontaneity and change of plans. In fact, you can ask my husband and he will 100% tell you that I really despise that. But life is just like that. And so you have to learn how to kind of balance the two and be okay with the fact that sometimes school isn't going to get done and you're going to have to adjust your plans. It's okay. It's not the end of the world, really. But also, you could be somebody who needs that little bit of accountability and that like motivation to get things done. And a planner can be really great. I always have a link for Anna's planners down in the description below. It's an amazing business. I love supporting her. Her heart behind her business is beautiful. And we also have a book of centuries from them, and we use that for our history and just anything that comes up. We pop in there, and it's just beautiful. The quality is great. The heart behind it is beautiful. So I highly recommend them. If you're looking for getting one for your new homeschool year, then go ahead and look at my videos. I've got like past reviews on them, but also go ahead and check what her wait time is, because they're all handmade and made to order. There is a longer lead time on them. So don't leave it till the last minute. Okay, wrapping it up. I'm getting a croaky throat. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
What if the world had more of your smile? What if the wind could spread your love? What if your sweetness could reach everyone? There'd be no wars,